You ever jumped on your ATV, turn the key, and all you get is a click? I'm going to show you some diagnostics to go through to hopefully find and fix the problem. They range from easy to replacing parts. I think the starter's gone on this, so we'll even replace the starter in this video. So stay tuned. So we're here with the wife's TRX 250, the Honda Recon electric shift. The very first thing you should do when you get that click could be as simple as a dead battery. So you want to test your battery. Any voltmeter you can do that with. It doesn't have to be one like this. You could get a cheap one, works just as well. But simply see what you got for voltage. So see, this battery has, what does that say, 12.8. So that's pretty good. That's what you want. So this battery is charged. Now the next thing you want to do, since we know we got a good battery, if you don't have a good battery, charge it till you're in the upper 12s at least, and see if that fixes the problem. It may be as simple as that. The next thing you want to do is right here on this four-wheeler is the starter relay. Now if you follow the wire, you got a big wire that goes to one leg of this starter relay, and then you got another wire that comes off this other post that goes down and snakes around to the starter. When you hear the clicking, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing the relay click. It's not the starter. This relay is basically a high-powered switch, because if you were to run that through the starter on the handlebars, it would burn it up pretty quickly because of the amperage draw the switches aren't made to do. So that's why they use relays. So to test the relay, we're gonna just follow that cable, and we're gonna put our probe on that side, on the side that the battery's connected to. We're still getting 12.8. okay, that's good. Now when we move to the other side, and one quick note while I'm hooking this up, since all my things are coming undone, do not use anything metal and arc those two, or else you'll get some sparks, and I hate sparks. So I'm hooked to the other side, the starter side of that relay now. Now when I hit the starter switch, see, it jumps up in voltage. You don't want to hold it down too long, because I don't know what that'll do to the starter. I mean, the starter's already fried. But because we're doing that, and you can hit the button, you hear the relay click, and you're getting voltage on the other side, your relay's probably good. So next thing is to move down to the starter, the other end of this wire. It's pretty simple. You just follow it through. If you're not getting any clicking, let me back up for a second. If you're not getting any clicking at all, then you need to check to make sure that your key's on, your bike is in neutral, make sure that the run switch is set to the run position, and make sure that your starter button is working. I know that's a lot, but you know, it's something, if you ride ATVs, you probably do it all the time and not even know it. Alright, so let me get repositioned, and I might have to take this panel off just so you guys can see better. But let me take that panel off, reposition my lights and all that stuff, and I'll be back. While I'm repositioning, let me show you a little closer look at what we're doing. So here's your battery. Here's that big cable that I'm talking about that goes over to that leg of the starter relay. See, I've still got the meter hooked up to the starter side of it. Now, if you're not getting any clicking, and I know I said don't do this, but if you think your starter relay is bad and it's not clicking, and you've made sure all your controls are good and your battery is charged, you can take a screwdriver and basically touch those two posts. It's going to spark, but it'll tell you your starter will turn over if it's in neutral and the normal run position. So just wanted to show you guys an up close look, and let me get repositioned. We'll be back. This is a tight, cramped space, so I'm going to try to show you the best I can. I took this panel off right here. You just loosen that bolt, and then each of these snaps, you just put a screwdriver in there and you kind of wiggle it back and forth till you can grab a hold of it and pull it out about that far. No big deal if you pull it out too far and it comes all the way out. You can just pop it back in there. No big deal. I don't want to remove this whole piece down here, so we'll just have to work with this. So make sure that the four-wheeler is off. Probably not a bad idea to disconnect the battery when you're doing this, but take a big pair of pliers or whatever you can get in there and remove that boot. See if you can pop that boot off of that nut. It's got a pretty good seal on it, so you might have to work with it. Now, we got the boot moved out of the way. The reason that's there is because when you're running the starter, that's positive, and if it's grounding out to anything around here, that's not good. So we're going to take our meter once again, because we think our starter relay is good. So we're going to take our meter once again, hook up the black lead to the negative battery terminal on the battery itself. And then we're going to hook or touch this screw that's on the starter itself, because that's the next thing in the line. Okay, so that's not working. Let me get the other meter set. My clamp doesn't work. But basically, we're going to take that. Be careful not to touch anything else, but we want it on that bolt. We want to be touching that bolt. Now, with your battery connected, what we're looking for is voltage coming to this wire to the starter. So turn your key back on, hit your starter relay. So we're getting voltage all the way to the starter. So that tells me that it's likely a bad starter. So let's replace it. Alright, there's a couple of different ways you can attack this. One, if you take this off, this footrest, you have a lot easier access to do the whole job right here. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it where I don't have to do all that. Now, you can take just a regular 10mm, disconnect the power leads on there, or you can take a socket and kind of fiddle with it from up top. You got to move the boot out of the way, but you can get a socket with an extension on there. You just loosen it right up. And it appears you're going to need a wobble head. A wobble head, swivel joint, whatever you want to call it. You could do it without it, but this makes it easy. I know this extension is overkill, but it'll make sense in a minute why I grabbed it. So let's get our socket back on there. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing. Anyways, just work it till you get both nuts off. Actually, let me look. All you gotta do is take the top nut off. So what you might have to do is take a wrench, something thin, and hold on to that second nut while you turn the top one, because sometimes they're stuck together. So let me get this off. I'll be back, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna take the starter off. It's a little bit different than you think. All right, I'll be back. So not everything goes as planned when you need it to. I can't get that electrical connection off, so I'm going to remove the starter, the 2 starter bolts, and then try to get it off. You've got 2 bolts. This is from the back of the four-wheeler. You've got a bolt right there and a bolt right there. That's all that holds the starter on. So let's take those off. And this is why I got the long extension. That didn't mean to hit the camera there. Probably gonna do it again. Sorry. Yep, told you I'd do it. But, oh well. That will allow us to remove the bolts that are holding the starter on. Now you can either reach up in there and take them all the way out. See, they're not very long. And then if we had that electrical connector off, just wiggle it out. There's an O-ring. Wiggle it out. May take a little prying in between the case and the front of it. So let me get it out and get that electrical connection off, and then we'll be back. Well, that went to shit real fast. So couldn't get that wire off. I'll show you why in a second. Ended up breaking the connector, so I had to crimp another one on there. So here is the old starter removed. It's got an O-ring on it, so all I had to do was just wiggle it till it came out after I had removed those 2 screws. I couldn't find a wrench thin enough to go on there, so ended up breaking the connector off trying. But there you go, that's the starter right there. So that's the old starter, and here is a new starter. Luckily it comes with nuts for that post, but looks the same. It's the same size. It's got the O-ring on it and everything. So I'm gonna wiggle this guy back in, hook up this wire I had to release a clip here and another one up front to get this wire back here far enough to where I could actually work on it without taking all the plastics off. So let's try to wiggle this guy back in. I don't know if you can see that from this angle, but just stuck it in there and wiggled it a little bit, and it popped right in. Now the bolts are lined up. We can put our bolts back in. Yeah. You saw me take them off, so you don't have to watch me put them back in. So, just goes to show you that it doesn't always work out as planned, but all you can do is fix it and keep going. So, let me get these two bolts tightened down and get that wire reconnected, and we'll see if she starts. Alright guys, well, she's back in there. She's bolted down, she's tight. Got the thing reconnected, the boot's on there, everything's good. It's solid. So let's see if it fixes the problem. Before you hit the key, it wouldn't crank. Perfect. There we go. So, diagnosis, bad starter, replaced it. There we go. It works. Be right back. We'll close this up. So there we go, guys and girls. Sometimes stuff happens. All you can do is fix it, not be afraid to work on it to begin with. Really easy job. Only take maybe a couple hours at most. So hopefully you learn how to diagnose the starting system on the four-wheeler and replace the starter. The starter relay, sorry, it's getting late. The starter relay, it just pulls right off. It's in a little mount. You take the battery out after you disconnect the wires, obviously have the battery disconnected. It just slides out and it's a little sleeve. All you do is you put the other one back in, you put the wires back on it, put it back in, put your battery back in, done. So that one's simple too. But hope you guys found this useful. Don't be afraid to mess stuff up. Most of it's easy to fix. We'll catch you later on Chaos Garage.